That's us recording now. So
you can't run now. You're here.
You know what? It feels like it's been a while since we've done a good world building thread. Well, this isn't a thread. Anyway. So 18 common fantasy subgenres. I feel like it's something that fantasy's kind of always just lumped in together because, I'm sick of hearing people say oh, this is. You know what it reminds me of? People that are really into heavy metal, and it's no, this isn't heavy metal. This is industrial.
This is heavy metal.
Yeah, and it's see the minutia when it comes to different subgenres. I honestly don't care. I just don't. But hey, I think it would just be kind of interesting because again, let's be serious. I would say a solid 80% of tabletop RPG games are set in some form of fantasy setting.
Usually, the big appeal of RPGs for the most part is being in a fantasy of some kind. And to be fair, nearly every game is a fantasy in its own right. But I think fantasy, because fantasy used to be the same as fiction.
Yeah.
It's just a fantasy. But fantasy has evolved to be its own little fiction genre. Yeah. Where it's, when you think fantasy, you don't think of fucking big booby fucking models on unicorns bringing you fucking ribs on a rack. It's more of you're gonna picture wizards and shit. People think fantasy usually means wizards or
wizards.
Nice and armor doing
shit. Oh, that's right. Greyhawk, for lack of a better word. You think Greyhawk, or at least I do. So
I love Greyhawk and I love Dark Sun.
Oh yeah, Dark Sun's outstanding. I don't care. If you don't like Dark Sun, there's something not right with you. And
if you like Dark Sun, fuck you.
Yeah, this is a Dark Sun household only, guys. Okay, keep moving.
The giant building.
Yeah, this is a schizo neighborhood.
Normies keep on fucking moving.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. Honestly, and the best thing is because Dark Sun has so many issues with it that just are not palatable to the modern Sojack, the modern normie Sojack Wizards of the Coast audience. They're never going to touch it, which I'm pretty happy about. I just love how much they actually made a hack.
Sorry, this is a game for chuds.
No.
Play this game.
No, you know what? I'm not going to talk about wizards. I'm not going to talk about wizards. We're already getting we're not going to talk about it. So
brainworms.
And you know what? No, actually, no. I'm not getting distracted again. I want to talk about Robert Jr. Anyway. So dystopian fantasy. Right. So what's this all about? Sometimes grouped in with science fiction, spectacular fiction, and literary fiction, dystopian fantasy imagine worlds gone wrong. These settings are once familiar to contemporary audiences and sometimes alarming worse than the present world. Jack Vance's Dan World series is a pulpy example of the subgenre of fantasy fiction. I mean,
so when I see a dystopian fantasy, it's usually Bloodborne in a way.
Oh yeah, Darkest Dungeon.
It's dystopian. It's dark. Not a lot of hope going on, but it's still fantasy.
What constitutes dystopian fantasy to just dark fantasy? Because I wouldn't really use the word dark fantasy personally.
Well, I think it's more of a dystopian fantasies. You're coming in, the world's already ruined. It's just everything's already fucked.
Yeah,
and nothing you can do about it. And like I said, the best examples I could think of is Bloodborne or Darkest Dungeon, where the world is completely fucked, but you're still, engaging in that world that's on the decline. Dystopian usually means decline, like Fallout is dystopian. Technically, Judge Dredd is also.
Oh yeah, Judge Dredd would be a good example.
The dark side of the moon, the lights of God, it's only darkness.
Yeah, I can work with that.
People tend to mess up grimdark with dystopian, and they're actually quite different. Dystopian usually means the remnants of something, or the culmination of events, and that's the dystopian outcome if things don't go well. And usually dystopian is led by, or is following a failure of some kind. The great prophesied hero has failed to kill the demon lord or whatever cringe ass enemy bullshit.
Fantasy post-apocalyptic would you go for?
Yeah, but I don't know if apocalypse can fit with the fantasy setting. Because an apocalypse is usually a fucking asteroid hits, or to you, what does apocalypse mean to you?
Civilization fallen. and we've been knocked back a few rungs on the lack of a better word, bomb them back to the Stone Age, like that type of idea. You know, the idea of, or a good one would be like the Dark Ages, like, you know, the Roman Empire falls, we go into decline, maybe we regress technologically for a few hundred years, you know, all that sort of stuff. That's what I would think of. But again, dystopian, I don't know, whenever I think dystopian, I just think 1984, where it's like, you know, an evil government, a tyrannical dictator or king, whatever, you know what I mean? And, or honestly, modern day China. Honestly, I would honestly say that, like, the Victorian era is pretty dystopian, though. It would fit that mold set pretty well, you know, where it's just absolute misery on an industrial scale. Would that be a way?
Or like, if I remember right, it's usually like a great injustice or something.
Yeah.
So, like I know, like, people usually point at what was it called, Kowloon City or some shit for like a basic like dystopia starter. Like, you know, talking about like the big ass fucking compact mega city in China that's like stacked on each other. And
oh
shit.
Yeah. And there's like
Kowloon.
Yeah, and there's like a few thousand. I think it's like 30,000 people live in like a square kilometer or something like that. It's mad.
Yeah, that's pretty dystopian. I mean, so it's like, I don't know. It's like it's usually like a whole bunch of like a big old bag of suffering. Or like, you know, things.
Suffering. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like, is it like it's just always suffering? There's nothing good. Shit sucks.
Yeah, but again, I feel like I would put that into dark fantasy as well, or like grim dark, I suppose would be another word.
There's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, I think there's too much overlap. I'm disqualifying dystopian fantasy just because of the overlap. I don't think there's enough. High fantasy. Okay, what is high fantasy then? Sometimes called epic fantasy. High fantasy is set in a magical environment that has its own rules and physical laws. The subgenre plots and themes have a grand scale and typically center on a single well-developed hero or a band of heroes, such as Frodo Baggins and his cohorts in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, or Bilbo Baggins and the dwarves in The Hobbit. George R.R. Martin combines high fantasy combines high fantasy elements.
R.R. Martin is high fantasy. Okay.
I don't think he's got any high fantasy elements. And
he's more low fantasy than high fantasy.
Yeah, I would say Game of Thrones is what I would like define as low fantasy for me anyway. The only way you can get lower fantasy is if you're playing historically accurate. That's the only because everyone always like that was the big appeal though, wasn't it, about Game of Thrones when it first came out, or I suppose whenever the TV show first came out, everyone was like, oh, but it's like a fantasy world, but it's like going on, and it's more like history and stuff like this, and it's like the War of the Roses, and you know what I mean.
I wouldn't call it historical fantasy, but it's definitely a low fantasy. There's magic, but it's not like super duper like wizards casting fireballs and shit.
Everything in Game of Thrones has got some form of everything has like a somewhat of a parallel to real world events, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you could even argue like the Children of the Forest are like the fairies of Irish mythology, or like the old ones are like pagan gods, all that sort of stuff. And like,
I mean, I get that, but it's not really high fantasy.
No, it's definitely it's not high fantasy at all.
Yeah,
like,
definitely, like, and then this is completely wrong, because it could be like maybe low fantasy or historical fantasy, but it's definitely not high fantasy.
No,
it's not
not
fucking fighting Balrogs or some shit.
Yeah, and it's not like fireballs are shitting out everywhere, and you know what I mean. Like, what would be the right word for it? Oh fuck! What? Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms is the definition of high fantasy. Yeah.
Well, most fantasy things are going to be high fantasy. Like Aragon's high fantasy, Graceling's high fantasy, a whole bunch of books are going to be high fantasy. I mean, technically, most modern fiction is going to be like high fantasy. You say
it gives you more freedom.
Because everything's possible. You can have unicorns farting fireballs if you want to. It makes complete sense. It's high fantasy. So high fantasy is like the I would say for me it's a default. Default, default. I was trying to think of the word, but yeah. So high fantasy is like the default for any, like, literally any writer, setting, anime, whatever. It's always gonna be high fantasy. It's gonna be wizards and shit and magic and fantastical beasts, you know.
Like, if someone says to me, "Oh yeah, what are we playing?" It's like, "Well, it's gonna be a fantasy game." It's like, I just assume high fantasy and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, that's my default impression. Let's keep going. Honestly, I wouldn't even say Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I wouldn't even.
No,
I wouldn't even call Lord of the
no.
Rings high fantasy, if I'd be honest
No,
with you.
it is high fantasy in my opinion.
Would you say?
I mean,
It does have grand
kinda-
scale. It does have grand scale. I'll give it that, and it does have a lot of elements. But again, maybe if I'm just looking at it from the magical point of view, there
Well,
isn't.
it's more that Tolkien took a very grounded take at high fantasy.
Yeah.
It's not like LOL firebolt firebolt firebolt. There's no, he actually limits his magic quite heavily.
Yeah.
And the fact that only these wizards can use magic, you know, the blue, the grays, the
mate,
whites.
can we ask the comment section? Right, I want you guys to let us know. Right, I know everyone gurns about this. What does Gandalf qualify as? Is he a wizard? Is he a cleric? Or is he a warlock?
Or is he a sorcerer?
Sorcerer. Actually, you know what? Because everyone always argues about that. Everyone always argues. Oh no, he's this. No, he's that. Like, if you were to classify Gandalf, what would you put him down as? And honestly, let's be serious. I think it's one of those ones I've thought about an awful lot, and I don't think there's actually a correct answer to it at all, because it just doesn't really. It doesn't fit the right pegs. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's keep going. So we got up next, low fantasy. What do we have? Set in the real world, low fantasy includes unexpected magical elements that surprise ordinary characters, like plastic figurines coming to life.
I don't think that's accurate. That's a rather odd take on low fantasy. Set in the real world? No.
Yeah, what is this? Who wrote this?
Yeah,
what are we reading?
That's a really bad take on low fantasy. Low fantasy is, I mean, if you ask me, I think J.R. Martin shit is low fantasy.
Yeah.
But low fantasy is just it's more grounded. It's more grounded in reality. I'll tell you that much. But it's not as overpowered as high fantasy. You know, it's usually a bit more gritty.
Yeah, no, you go for it.
No, go ahead. No, you go for it.
For me, low fantasy is just magic needs to be incredibly rare, like extremely rare to the point of it's not practical, or maybe even most people go their entire lives without even seeing any form of magic, or even there could be a lot of people that don't even believe in the concept of magic to a certain extent.
There's still skepticism,
or maybe it could be fantasy, like, you could go for like real world equivalents where it's like, oh well, magic used to be common, like, but we lost the ability to it, now we don't have it anymore. You know what I mean?
So there's actually a bit of a fight that goes on with low fantasy, because everyone disagrees on low fantasy. It's one of those things where there's a book called The Bone Doll's Twin, where it's set in a low fantasy setting, and all the magics are rituals. There's these long, intricate rituals that take a lot of ingredients. So there's still magic. It's just not as easily accessible to take. You won't have wizards just strolling in the fucking road like, what up, motherfucker, and fucking setting houses on fire. It's more of a magic exists, but it has to be tapped into in a very careful way, or you summon demons by accident.
I've got another one for you. Then what about, if it's low fantasy, does it have to be mudcore, as they call it?
What is mudcore?
Mudcore is essentially like fucking, the way in all like fantasy or any movies you see everyone in the Middle Ages wearing brown and everything's covered in shit, and everyone's smelly and ugly. Yeah. I think that would be a good example of mudcore. Or like,
never mind the fact that they had colors everywhere back then, but whatever.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Does mudcore have to be an element of low fantasy? You know what I mean? No, but it does feel like they go hand in hand, though. I would argue, so, like, George R. R. Martin, like, that definitely to me is mudcore. I think there's a lot of mudcore in in Game of Thrones. Do you want to keep going, or like, honestly, I feel like everyone knows low fantasy.
Well, I just want to point out, most low fantasy, like, people say that, like, Artemis Fowl is low fantasy. Now, I don't know. I got into a forum fight over this shit. Like I saw it on Twitter. I was like, what the fuck? And I went to a forum, made an account to argue with these people. And we had this huge fight about if Artemis Fowl is low or high fantasy, or even like modern fantasy.
I would call it modern fantasy.
Yeah, because it's not low, because all the fairies have access to magic. They gotta go and recharge to by a fucking tree. You gotta run hot, as Root puts it. Yeah, but it's definitely not low fantasy, and neither is they're brought up. Everyone brings up Harry Potter.
Harry Potter's
Potter
high fantasy?
isn't low fantasy. Yeah, it's high fantasy. You have literally all the elements of high fantasy in a modern setting. It's not low fantasy.
Oh, you know what? I've actually, on the topic of Harry Potter, you guys need to check it out. The Demonata series, I started reading them again. Oh my god.
So a bunch of books.
I've actually been really enjoying them. I would describe them as like a mix between, it's either Hellraiser for teenagers or Goosebumps Plus. That's the way I would describe them. Honestly,
Hellraiser's for teenagers.
yeah, well, you know what? So I went for book 4 back, which is set in like, I think it's like set in like the 500s. So it is. And it took me a wee while to get into it, but I do remember I really enjoyed it at the time. But it's been like, honestly, it's been over half my life away, which is terrifying whenever I think about it, because I had 30 there and I read them whenever I was like 12, I think. And honestly, I really enjoyed it. It took me about a couple hours to get into it. It took a while, but I'm on book 2, which is set in like the 1970s or so, like the early 1970s. And there's like a demon summoning in like a G.G. Allen fucking concert. So there is. Honestly, it's pretty cool. It's a bit unheard of, and I do feel like the writing style, you can tell it's written in a similar style to almost like Harry Potter, but it is more like Hellraiser than anything else. Honestly, if you guys haven't heard about it or seen it or anything, give it a go. Honestly, I would say actually give it a go. Book 2, The Demon Thief, I'm on at the minute, which you can count as almost like a standalone. Book 2 and book 4, you could almost read them by themselves, and they are like pretty much compact stories, if that makes any sense. Whereas I think it's book 1, 3, 5, yeah, so they're all in order, so they are, but there's a bit of time jumping about. But book 2 and book 4 you could just read as is. Honestly, not. I wish I was sponsored, because honestly, look, it's the first time I've been able to read a book in ages. No, but honestly, it's the first time. Well, you know what the worst thing is? I fucked up. I went on the author's Twitter, and oh my god, I shouldn't have done it.
Oh no, he's cringe.
Yeah, that's what happened. No, because it was one of those ones, because I read his Demonata, like most of the Demonata, whenever I was a teenager, and I only read a handful of the vampire ones that he did. And I remember I really enjoyed the Demon series far more than the vampire one, but the vampire one was still okay. It was just because my library didn't have his books, or they were always out at the time or whatever. Anyway, something to check out, guys. I'm just happy that it's been a long time since I've been able to actually read any books in ages, and I'm just enjoying them. Okay, let me enjoy my stuff.
Let me have fun, please. No.
Well, you know what it is? It's like how often I feel like I need to go back to reading more books, because there's fuck all TV shows, there's fuck all anything. Like, there's very little quality entertainment these days, it feels like, you know? And
well, it's just the writing's so bad. Like I went and saw Fall Guy last night, and it was honestly a fucking awesome movie. Because
is that the one with thingy? Yeah.
Well, it's literally just stunt guys being actors in a movie. I was like, this is great. Like, what the fuck? You know, and like, you feel this all stuff because like all the gun mechanics were correct. You know, they were counting bullets and all that. I was like, oh right, that's fucking cool.
Oh, I can work with this. He's literally me. You know what I mean?
Ryan Gosling's literally me.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Where were we? Still in low fantasy, were we?
Well, low fantasy. So, like, people, I don't know what's up with people. We live in a society nowadays. People keep confusing these elements and changing them. Like right here, I don't know why they say low fantasy takes place in the real world.
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to. No, I think low fantasy is more of a power level. Like these are all power levels and themes. Like high fantasy there is no power level. It's just fucking gonzo bullshit going on.
Yeah, you're talking like high fantasy. You're dealing with like end of the world prophecies, the Dark Lord, the Eye of the Storm,
and they're usually happy stories. They're usually good endings.
They tend to be.
Yeah. I think that's a tenet of high fantasy. Is usually a low point. I mean, there are bad points that test the hero, but they usually end in a good ending.
Is it more of like, you know, the defining feature, I think, of high fantasy then would be
it's
the yes, yeah, you're right.
High fantasy is built on hope.
Yes, unironically. Right, let's keep moving. I don't want to talk about low fantasy anymore because I feel like everyone knows about it. What's this magical? What's magical realism? Like, are they trying to be like, but it's actually done with physics? You know what I mean? Okay,
magical. Well, similar to low fantasy, magical realism characters accept fantastical elements like levitation and telekinesis as a normal part of their otherwise realistic world. Oh, okay.
What's this?
This is just like, it's like modern fantasy then. Like basically it's like, well, I have powers. Like this basically is there's a book called Summon Summon the Watchers, Summon the Keeper, where it's a witch in the modern era and they can like levitate shit. It's just like, okay, these things exist, you know. It's kind of a shrug, like, well, you know, this stuff does stuff. It's like,
could you here, I've got a good example though. Could you argue, I know it's not and I know it's completely different, but the similarities here, do you think you put the Matrix in this? I know it's not magic, I know it's like it's done differently, it's like, you know, the computer system, it's the Matrix and all that.
I suppose,
but do you get where I'm coming from? Do you get the idea?
So if you had the Matrix and no one knew about the outside stuff, it'd be seen as like fucking magical realism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Do you get where I'm coming from? I know it's not.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Technically, it's not, but there's a lot of overlap there. You know what I mean? Like there's enough overlap.
If you did like a smash cut where you only showed the in the Matrix bits to like until never seen the movie before, they would think, oh, this is pretty fucking, you know, he's burning up walls and shit and dodging bullets. Wow, but they would never know it's, you know. I don't like, to me that's still just low. It might be still low fantasy.
Wait, hold up, magical realism. Wait, is this just like kung fu movies then with chi?
I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah. hold up a minute here. Hold up.
Hey, wait up. Hold up.
I think there's enough there to be said. There might be something there to it.
Well, the thing is, like, people take magic and they will like relabel it with a new like thing. Oh, it's not magic, it's chi, or it's not magic, it's your karma being worked.
Oh yeah.
It's your soul energy. So I don't know, that may be something to that.
It's your mana. No, it's your spell slots, man. What are you on about? It's your spell slots.
It's your mana. It's mana. Fuck you. Stop it.
Okay. Right, let's keep going. Sword and Sorcery. Honestly, I think Sword and Sorcery is... I think it's, for me, it's my favorite when it comes to... It lends itself incredibly well to role-playing games. I think it's
well, I mean, it is role playing. I mean, it's basically it's Elder Scrolls, it's World of Warcraft, it's fucking everything you think of. It involves wacky sword with spells.
Are they putting J.K. Rowling, Pop Guy's Sword and Sorcery, Harry Potter's Sword and Sorcery. Wait, hold up a minute here. Let's leave this. A subset
J.K. Whoa, hold on.
Who the fuck made this? Who wrote this?
Are they huffing the fucking copium? J.K. Rowling.
What?
Boy, what the fuck?
Hold up. So, a subset of high fantasy, this genre focuses on sword-wielding heroes such as the titular barbarian of Already Hard's Conan pulp fiction stories, as well as magic or witchcraft. J.K. Rowling Pop Guy's Sword and Sorcery subgenre for young adults with Harry. What are you? What? Are you? Who wrote this?
Dumb juice. What the fuck?
This article has to be written by AI. There's no way. Someone actually
popularized X.
What? Okay.
I'm pretty sure that Conan did that job.
I think
crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. That's just, mate. It's just fucking. That's wrong.
It's so wrong. It's almost funny. You know?
Yeah, I've never actually heard that before.
Are you being this wrong on purpose? Like,
yeah.
Are you retarded?
is this a generally comments?
Popularized by J.K. Rowling. Fucking record scratch. Sorry, what?
I'm using that in the title, so I'm for this video. That's what I'm doing.
J.K. Rowling saved fantasy.
yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's going to be the thumbnail. Let's see how people take it. It's going to go. It's going to go down.
J.K. Rowling invented fantasy again. What the hell's a Conan the Barbarian? Sounds gay.
You know what? There was a great one I saw the other day. It was. Can you not see that Curly Jin is just a cheap ripoff of Star Wars?
Yeah, I saw that. He went back in time.
He spent all his money to go back in time. I was reading it, I was like halfway, I was like, this has to be a troll. I was like, oh wait, yeah, it is. Never mind.
Is this one of those troll posts?
Yeah.
It's a troll post.
So yeah, definitely, like, Arrakis is just Tatooine, and like, Paul Atreides is literally just like Luke Skywalker.
But he spent all his money to create the temptation to go forward and steal from Star Wars.
And then he came back, That's what this feels like, this post. That is exactly what J.K. Rowling. So, what other examples of sword and sorcery really are there? I mean, like,
I mean, what isn't there? I mean, fuck me. Like, what isn't an example of sword and sorcery? Or
okay, what's the defining traits? Again, I think sword and sorcery is a power level thing. Look, what is it about it? I feel like sword and sorcery, it's just unifiedly agreed that magic is evil, and I can't explain why.
Like fucking Willow, yeah.
Yeah, magic is just evil. And a lot of sword and sorcery, it's just universally the evil wizard, and it's overcome by unironic strongmen. You know what I mean? The human spirit. And I suppose you could go back, it is very similar, like, I'm not going to do it. It's like the thing.
Humanity, fuck yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It does actually kind of have some elements of humanity, fuck yeah, though, in it, doesn't it? When you think about it.
I mean, if there are more, like, fantasy races in there, then yeah. Shit. I mean, if you ask me, most sword and sorcery is based around a human fighter. If you ask me, it's usually based around a human fighter, whether it's a knight or a barbarian. Yeah, it's usually based around a human fighter and some bitch with blonde hair. You know?
Yeah, and a dwarf, maybe a dwarf if you really wanted to throw one. Maybe a dwarf. Sometimes as a dwarf, it doesn't have to be. I'm thinking of Golden Axe and Ice Fam. Yeah, Golden Axe was pretty fucking sweet though. Mate, the soundtrack to Golden Axe was banging, so it was. Honestly, I was playing Golden Axe not that long ago. Actually, come to think of it.
Were you really?
Yeah, I played through it a few times. Because remember, Tarmel was interested in doing the artwork. He was really interested in doing a video game with us, sure. But that kind of went out the window.
Because Golden Axe was a big old fucking buff tanned bodybuilder dude and like his bodybuilder wife and like this old fucking dwarf, wasn't it? Yeah. It was like because he has like white hair, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does. Hold on, Golden Axe box cover. Golden Axe box. Honestly, we're missing out with these box covers.
Yeah, it looks like
there we go. That's the one I have.
Bodybuilder wife and old man
dwarf. Golden Axe. I fucking there we go. That's the one I had actually. Golden Axe. I fucking love Golden Axe. I'm raging. My mum threw out my Sega Mega Drive.
Mom, you threw out my fucking Sega.
Yeah, and you know the worst thing is she gave away my Game Boy as well. It's like, come on.
I remember like when I left for the army, my mom sold my Nintendo, my purple see-through 64 with matching 4 controllers and all my Pokemon cards. She sold them for $1 at a garage sale.
Why?
I had 2 fucking Charizards, bro. I was so pissed. I was like, why would you do that? I was like, all right, Mom, hold on to these for me. My apartment floods a lot. Just hold on to this stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. As soon as I fucking left, and to the garage sale you go.
Wait, look, let's keep going. Let's go back. So, Sword and Sorcery, I mean, everyone knows it. Everyone loves it. It's got a lot going on, and of course...
Classic fantasy.
And of course, it was J.K. Rowling that completely... I've never heard...
J.K. Rowling invented...
Yeah, J.K. Rowling invented Sword and Sorcery, guys. I just want to put that out there. I've never...
There's a sword and Harry Potter is in there, and he slays a snake, right?
Yeah, he does, actually. Yeah, well, you know what, actually?
No, do not try and...
No, I'm not going to. But, I mean, like, what is...
There is a sword wielded by a white dude. Wait a minute.
You know what? There is an evil wizard. There is... And what is it about serpents in Sword and Sorcery? You always have to have a serpent. You know,
snakes are evil.
Yeah. Again, like, I don't get that. Megan loves snakes, but like, apparently it's like part of like our monkey brain why we don't like lizards.
Bro, this morning I hear I'm in the bathroom doing my dailies, and my wife goes, "I found a baby." And I was like, "Okay, it's either a raccoon, a possum, or something gross." I lean out the door, and she has a baby snake. I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah, well, at least it means you can throw that back outside and call it a day. Well, what type of snakes do you get? What type of snakes do you get?
I get all the snakes. We have rattlesnakes here, copperheads, water moccasins, garter snakes, racers, corn snakes. We actually found ringneck snakes here. It's a ton of...
Can you actually get, like, will they bite you or what? Like, how often do people actually get bit by snakes in America?
Which kind?
Like all types, you know what I mean?
Oh, like all the time, yeah. It's like every hospital has fucking anti-venom nowadays. So or they have a chemical cocktail that'll help halt the effects of the poison and kind of
until they get the
keep your heart from, yeah, because a lot of poisons are neurotoxins or they're like a rotting thing. A lot of venoms are actually pretty fucking gnarly.
Yeah, there was a horrible curse I just saw a while back where it was like this Filipino that got bit by a snake in the leg, and his leg was completely rotten off, and it was just like his thigh bone. It was just a thigh bone sticking out of like rotten meat. It was disgusting looking.
you guys like tabletop RPGs? Do you like waifus and husband-fus in a colorful fantasy world? Do you fucking hate the ATF? Well, partner, do I have a tabletop RPG for you? Based off of a book series that holds back zero punches, the Veil Rider TTRPG is a game system based around the use of both blood magic, spells, swords, and spears, as well as a healthy dose of machine gun fire and grenades. All activities in the game are based around an action point system, a set of points that you both use and spend and regain to do things in the world, allowing you a huge breadth of actions both in and out of combat. The basic field manual boasts 17 playable races, both foreign and familiar, including gnolls, elves, harpies, and spiderfolk. There are additionally 19 jobs with unlockable skill trees, ranging from a newly turned local man-at-arms to gunslingers who have luck on their side and might just be your huckleberry. Did we mention the war crimes? There are war crimes. There's a war crime chart. There's a war crime score. Don't overuse the gas weapons and human shields or else local law may be a bit pissed. While the basic player manual or field manual is enough to play a game, there is also the combat controller manual that expands on nearly everything in the field manual, including nearly 100 new spells and potions, weapons, beckoners, drugs, and all manner of tools to use in the creation of the game. I also paid extra for hand-drawn art, so yeah, there's that too. If you want to be a dwarven machine gunner mowing down southern elves while blasting pumped-up kicks in your ears via cassette player, then the Veil Rider TTRPG is the game you have been waiting for. Shit, the Yamato found the Willy P grenades. Hey! Put that down!
So it was. Anyway.
Disgusting.
Urban fantasy. That's,
see, this is my shit.
Yeah, this is you. This is literally just you. So you go from...
Like Bright, Dresden Files, the Summonar Green series of the Night Side. Technically Artemis Fowl is urban fantasy.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, I would call that. Right, okay, let's read the post before, and let's see if they come off with any other mad shit. So, urban fantasy is a genre like before these. Yeah, well, J.K. Rowling invented the Okay, urban fantasy is a genre of encompassing novels, novellas, and short stories in which fantastical creatures and concepts are placed in a real world urban setting, often in present day. Urban fantasy novels have devoted followings and have spawned films and TV adaptations. Okay, that says absolutely nothing in that sentence there. Urban fantasy stories often draw from noir and gritty police, whatever the fuck you call that.
No, that's already wrong. It's not. Yeah. It's not. Does that draw from police procedures? I mean, fucking the Mercy Thompson series is not even close to being... Hold on. Did this correlate urban to police settings? What the fuck?
They have... This
kind
is...
of racist, bro. I don't know.
Wait, do they just watch Bright and call it a day?
Well, yeah, I think they watch Bright. We're like, you know what? There's an urban fantasy.
Yeah.
They wrote an article. This is why I hate... I'm a writer. No, you're a fucking retard.
Yeah, honestly...
I wrote an article on the website.
AI would have done a far better job at writing this article, if I be honest with you. They may also incorporate fantastical elements and supernatural creatures.
I have a better one here.
Alright, okay.
So, on this website, urban fantasy can be tricky to define as it's been used in many different ways, often interchangeably with other fantasy subgenre terms such as low fantasy and paranormal fantasy. While it generally describes a fantasy set in an urban environment or society, we live in a society. It has also become synonymous with contemporary fantasy, a fantasy set in present day or real world. Thus, an urban fantasy is generally understood to be a low fantasy set in a real world, modern urban society, or something closely resembling one. Many urban fantasies also paranormal fantasies or paranormal romances. So basically, it's just a modern urban setting for your fantasy. It's like there are hundreds of thousands of stories.
I would say like paranormal fantasy is literally every horror movie you've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean okay. So I was gonna wait for a long time till horror or paranormal came up. But when you think about it, every single slasher film is a paranormal or urban fantasy. Like, it's because they like the Candyman or Chucky or even Scream, you know. I mean, they're all paranormal fantasies, and I think it's why people like Dead by Daylight so much, because it kind of taps into that paranormal fantasy or urban fantasy thing where this guy, like think of like Jason, like he just keeps not fucking dying. Why is that? Think of like Michael Myers, like the dude just walks and he's there. Like, what the fuck, you know? Like it's one of those, like either he's a Olympic sprinter or he has something going on with it, like with the shade. It's honestly the biggest thing I get in fights over the internet is whether or not horror is a fantasy. Like, because people are like, no, horror is horror.
Most of the time it is. Most of the time. It doesn't have to be.
No, horror is horror. No, horror is a subgenre. I believe horror is a subgenre of fantasy.
I could agree. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Well, not all horror, obviously.
If there was
grounded horror, like Aliens and all that.
Yeah, like if you're going for if there was a Venn diagram of this, I would say it mostly overlaps.
Oh, by a fair margin.
Yeah,
it's a big gray center in that of the two circles.
80% of like horror easily fits in. Easily, I would argue. Mm-hmm. There's not many that don't, if I be honest with you. That's what I would go for. Honestly, back on point. Demonada. It's real world, but it does have like parallel universes with demons and whatnot in it, which again you could argue is definition of supernatural horror fantasy shit. You know what I mean? Honestly, like, guys, honestly, I'm just saying, you can get the audiobooks on YouTube, so you can. So go ahead and check it out, because I'm actually seriously enjoying it. I actually can't explain how much I've actually been enjoying the Demonada series, and I'm only 2 books in, and there's 10 in total. So it's like, yes, I've got something to seriously look forward to. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's keep going. Is there anything else we want to add on this? Is there any? You know what, Garbu? What
so
twist?
This article is so wrong, dude.
Yeah.
Like, so far, this article has been absolutely dog shit. Like dog shit takes in every fucking section.
Yeah, they put fucking Game of Thrones high fantasy, J.K. Rowling as fucking sword and sorcery, police dramas as urban fantasy. I mean, they can be, but like, I don't know, not really, guys.
So my question to you is like, most of the time, urban fantasy are going to be in, you know, modern, like, think of like, oh yeah, it's a fantasy set in like New York or, you know, Portland, Oregon. It's usually some fucking fucked up American city that usually has a horrible reputation. But like, what do you think of if I say a modern setting with modern amenities, but it still has that fantasy aesthetic? Like, think of like,
so like
old
Shadowrun set today sort of thing, maybe.
No. Like think of like an old English village in like the 1500s, you know, that kind of aesthetic, but it's all actually modern still. Like, there are TVs inside those fucking
cottage
buildings and cottage core. Right? So hold on, is that what's called, cottage core?
I think so. Honestly, you can call anything core and it'll call it a day. But does cottage core?
Like, I think I am moving my setting towards like I don't know what they call it, Veil Rider core, I don't know, but like, where like you have like these ancient like towns and villages where they're still fantasy-esque, like the interior is like, we have a fucking shower and a TV. Like, I'm not gonna reinvent my entire building, but I'll install a fucking outlet for I can watch the soap, you know. And I kind of like the whole aesthetic, like, really, where they have like, they're still clinging to like their heritage of being like, oh, we're a fancy town, but this refrigerator's busted. You know?
You know what? Actually, there was a great one I heard a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember where I heard it, but they were talking about, if you think about it, right, everywhere in the world has got very different designs. Like, light up, like, you could tell the houses in, let's say, let's go for like even just like France or England. Like, you know, there's so many different designs throughout in the 1800s.
Oh yeah, well yeah, comparing like German houses to English houses, or
easy, straight away. But if you think about it, and like, you know, your environment and your culture really has a lot to do with your architecture as well. If you think about it, if we were all to vanish, like, and aliens came and they were studying our ancient ruins, they would honestly think that after World War II that some super race had came and because everywhere looks the same. No, but everywhere looks the same now. You know what I mean? Like there's very little difference between the houses.
McDonald's has fallen.
Yeah, no, but unironically, why are all these temples here? And would McDonald's not be associated with almost like a temple if you think about it? Because they're all the same.
That's actually a genre of fantasy in itself. And I think that's
Burger Punk you.
Well, I think that's actually like a genre of like dystopian fantasy.
Yeah.
Like humanity has somehow been like fucking Sugi slammed to nothing and it's all dead. And then you have like these like either because I've seen actually a lot of pictures drawn like this, a lot of art where like it shows like an elf looking. It's a picture of an elf looking down at a dead astronaut holding a gun.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that.
Actually like I see it every once in a while on Twitter. I'm like, I really want to do something with that because when you think about it, if there's a huge war, a huge fucking war, and all the humans get killed out, but things still evolve to like say there's like a gene experiment somewhere that gets loose and it starts evolving after humanity dies, and hey, they're now elves, and the elves are looking at all this like all these dead human skeletons.
Is that all tomorrow you're talking about?
I don't know. I don't know if there's actually a thing about it. I've only seen art.
All tomorrow. You should check it out. All tomorrows. It's actually really good. So it is. It's a really short book as well, but it's you know what? There's a ton of stuff on YouTube. It's worth checking out, and it's only like a 100-page book, like like 111 pages. Something to check out, I would say, because it's really weird. It goes like way off into the future, and it's about how humans like evolve into different creatures over like millions and millions of years. It's
a bit different to what I was saying.
But. Well, anyway, look, let's keep going. So, urban fantasy, you love that shit. What's this?
Oh, I fucking love urban fantasy.
Paranormal romance. The fantasy genre combines
this
romance
is like
themes.
like Love and
Oh,
Monsters,
it's Twilight.
like
It's fucking Twilight.
Twilight, yeah.
Oh, so every every girl teen fantasy book you can think of.
Patricia, okay, I hate this. Patricia Briggs is not paranormal romance. She's an urban fantasy writer. I do not like this article whatsoever, man.
Why? What is she?
This article is driving me angry. So she writes the Mercy Thompson series.
Oh yeah.
And it's an urban fantasy. It is not paranormal romance. I mean, she's dating a werewolf, but she's also a fucking skinwalker. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Well, it's just an urban fantasy. They say, well, the paranormal. Well, it's not because she's simply it's urban fantasy. She's just dating a werewolf. Like it's not like I love
the meme. I love the meme of whenever the big bad is going up against a teenage girl in a love triangle. It's like, oh no, we're all done for.
The baby was like, oh god damn it.
Okay. You know what? If we're on it, does his Dark Materials count as a romance?
His Dark Materials?
Yeah, from Phil Pullman, the Northern Lights. The first one, I think the first one was called. No, Americans had a different name for it. Did you called the Golden Compass, didn't you?
The Golden Compass.
Phil Pullman's Dark Materials. Also, if you haven't read, I'm thinking about going back and redoing that because I loved his Dark Materials. So I did. I really enjoyed them whenever I was a teenager.
Because people go the Golden Compass is actually an allegory for Christianity or some shit.
So I don't really want to get too much into it, but essentially they end up killing God in the end, and it doesn't really become clear. The first book, The Northern Lights, or the Golden Compass, they did do a movie of it, and the movie was. They changed a lot of the dark elements in it, and they made it so the movie didn't actually even make any sense, if I be honest with you, because
the movie sucked.
Yeah, the movie sucked dick. It sucked really bad. But I still love York Bernison. Like, he was really cool still. And the Subtle Knife I really enjoyed, where they had like this knife and they could cut doors into universes and all this sort of stuff, and like the Amber Spyglass was like this if I remember correctly, it was like a scrying device of sorts. Honestly, it was pretty cool, but again, I feel like, is it going to be one of those ones where if I read it and I really enjoyed it as a teenager, is it going to hold up still, or is it going to be kind of cringe? You know what I mean? Because like you read, like I've had that a few times with like movies and stuff where it's like I loved it as a teenager, and then I go back to watch it now and it's like, this is fucking dog shit. What the fuck was wrong with me?
Wow, this is not great.
Yeah,
this is watching any 90s comedy ever. Like we left, like this is funny to us. What the fuck?
Yeah, this still hasn't aged very well, guys. Not gonna lie.
Watching any Pauly Shore movie.
yeah, Yeah, it's not good. But yeah, there's a bit of romance in it. Like, you know, your one Lila and whatnot. They kind of have to get separated though, because they have to shut all the different dimensions to all the different universes and whatnot. So they have to split ways. It's actually quite sad. So it was. I think it was the first. It was the first like little like maybe not quite romance but love story book that I ever read. Well, a book that had a love story element within it that I actually really enjoyed. You know what I mean? Because like
Made you feel things like
yeah. Would that be fair? Like I feel like yeah, okay. Any action movie you've ever seen play has some form of love element in it, but do you honestly care that much about it? It's like, nah, I'm not here for any of that shit. I don't care about that.
Usually it's kind of a trope.
Yeah, it's just tacked on the side. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't care. But I feel like in his Dark Materials, it was actually done very well, because it wasn't. It's almost like it happens and you don't even realize that it's happening as you read. Almost, it's not until the very end does it all like twist together, or maybe that was just teenage James not catching on. You know what I mean? Who knows? I think you could maybe put some. Well, there's romance in it, but paranormal romance, probably not. Let's keep going. Dark fantasy, Lovecraft, dark fantasy, really?
I would call that dark fantasy. I'd call it I would call it more paranormal than dark fantasy.
Yeah. Okay. Combining elements of fantasy with horror genre. Dark
this
fantasy.
Guy just sucks at reading books.
Yeah.
This is clearly like, bro, you are so off the fucking mark. It's not even funny. What the fuck?
Combining elements of fantasy with horror genre. Dark fantasy's aim is to unnerve and frighten readers. For example, consider the gargantuan otherworldly monsters of H.P. Lovecraft's universe. Gothic and Victorian dark fantasy tends to embrace paranormal settings and supernatural elements, which can range from vampires to werewolves and beyond. Note that by no means is every paranormal fantasy a dark fantasy. I've been trying to go with. I would argue that for me, with Dice and Demons, it is meant to be a universal fantasy system, but I feel it fits best into dark fantasy the way that I've been doing it. Like the way the magic works, and there's a lot of things in there I feel are more dark fantasy-esque. People are going to shout at me, but like, no, actually, you know what? I'm not going to go there. What's your interpretation of dark fantasy?
Like, to me, dark fantasy is a new term because it used to be called gothic fantasy. It was always about, you know, like for me, I've always known gothic fantasy more than dark fantasy. Like, to think of like the book Something Wicked This Way Comes. Like, this is like, that was my first like gothic fantasy. It usually involves like abandoned buildings or haunted buildings, or like there's like ruins or tombs. Like, it's usually like it's definitely a vibe. Like, it usually has very core elements that make up a dark or gothic fantasy or dark fantasy.
I would go dark fantasy. I would use
catacombs, dungeons.
I would use it as a catch-all term. If I'd be honest with you, dark fantasy is just anything that's a bit more grim than Lord of the Rings, and there you go. Like that's
what thing is, you say more grim, but isn't that what grim dark is?
The grim dark, again, I would argue catch-all term. I'm going to say, like, look, before you guys start shouting at me in the comments, I'm going to say that Warhammer in general is dark fantasy. You know, even that counts for 40k as well as the old world.
Is. I mean, that'd be dark sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, but still, I don't care. I'm calling it all dark fantasy. You know what I mean? And you guys can shout at me.
I heard Trench Crusade's quite grim.
What's the deal with that, actually? What is going on with?
They are highly they are masquerading as being not political when they are highly political in their Discord.
So what happened was, a lot of people got annoyed.
Gay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the artwork looked really cool for.
Yeah, like that those guys were given the bag and they decided to fucking fumble the fuck out of it. And more than likely, they're still going to be successful, I'd reckon.
Oh yeah, they will.
It's like all the folks who love 40k for the wrong reasons are also loving Trench Crusade for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
like Trench Crusade, as far as I can tell via screenshots, I'm not touching that dumpster fire. For what I can tell with screenshots is, if you're even remotely like, dare I say the word, if you're remotely chuddy, they ban you. Like, if you don't follow. If you do anything but bash white people, you ban from the Discord.
To be fair, Discord is the heart and center of any and all gay drama online, and it's, you know what, it all falls back on terrible mods. And I do not believe the average nerd has got the capacity to be an internet moderator, because the second you give someone like that, it's almost like power absolutely corrupts anyone who chooses or wants power. It's like anyone who chooses to become a politician should never be trusted with power. You don't want people that seek out power to have power, because they're automatically going to fucking abuse that. But mind you, I don't know anything about Trench Crusade. I just thought it looked really cool. I've been following them for a while.
Like, the models look good, the art looks good. It's just, I don't know what's up.
I like the setting. Like, you know, the setting looked really cool as well, because, like, again, I'm doing something. They're way more fantasy than Death March. Death March is more, I would say Death March is more like Eldritch than anything, whereas they're more fantasy, I would argue. But, like, you know, I still like what they're doing. I think it looks cool to me.
It's one of those things where I watch certain people, and it's just that grifter, the fucking Demon Face Shay. She's like, oh my god, a new Discord, and she's posting like anime, like this place is gonna be a fucking shit fire. And like Bits Hammers in there and shit. It's like, basically, it's like everyone I hate is like, oh my god, I'm in Discord. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere near there, dude. I want to say one word to get banned. All right, there's no point in me going in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, I couldn't be afraid of that sort of stuff. I'm kind of just dumb with a lot of this. You know what? I'm just dumb with arguing with people on the internet at this point. I know, but I know you're not, like, you
Fuse me.
I don't have that energy anymore. I feel like I just don't have it in me. I don't have the ability to push myself like that, because I just feel like I'm bashing my head against the wall arguing with someone that's just never gonna. You know, the problem is when I argue with people online, the only time I do is because I feel like they're doing it in good faith. You know what I mean? They're doing it in a sense of, okay, well, I'm trying to explain my point of view, you explain yours, and you know what? If we can't agree, then that's fine. But, like, you know, if you can see where I'm coming from, that would be great. That's a tall order in this day and age. Like, that's why I'm past the point of, see, the idea of debate me below. It's like, there's no point. I don't believe anyone acts in good faith ever online anymore.
It's just like I'm kind of scrolling through Twitter, and it's like, there actually are no bad guys. Points to the demons covered in blood and skulls. They're clearly the good guys. Or they're like, the female designs are kind of bigoted, and they're kind of like sexualizing Christianity. And because I'm an atheist, I'm like, oh my god.
Like, please don't.
Again, these people attach themselves to anything, and they immediately like, this is definitely problematic.
The one that I saw that gave me the heebie-jeebies was I saw someone post about Trench Crusade, being like, there's women in it. It's like, no one, like, I play most of my armies.
Look, guys, titties. Don't you like titties? Look at titties, chuds. Look, there's females wearing no clothes.
Does this make you angry? It's like, no.
Does this upset you, chud? It's just like,
what upsets me? No, you know what upsets me? Sisters of Battle. I think they're probably in my top 3 for, like, favorite factions in 40k. And it took them absolutely forever to get plastic models. And finally, when they did, I had already been burnt out by Games Workshop. That I was past the point of spending money on Games Workshop products. You know what I mean? And that's what annoyed me, because I would have loved Sister Battle Army, but, like, you know what? Their loss. I don't care. Let's keep going. Grim Dark Fantasy. Great. We're gonna have to talk more about 40k now.
I mean, I was kind of priming us for it, wasn't I?
Yeah, Dark Fantasy, one step beyond. Grim Dark Fantasy, one step beyond. Dark Fantasy, grim dark novels pry into the blackest depths of the human condition, often in the proverbial underbelly of an alternate world.
The Court of Broken Knives. This person has the most shit taste in books.
What is this?
I read half that book and said, you know what? Fuck this. Actually, it's one of the few books I ever turned to the fucking bookstore. Like, no, take the shit back.
I've never heard of it. The Court of the Broken Knives.
Just Google it and read the synopsis, and that's all you got. Just Google it.
All right, let's get it up here. Amazon. perfect for fans of Mark Lawrence and R.S. Baker. The Court of Knives is an exclusive debut by one of the grimdark fantasy's most exciting new voices. You know what happened? They've pretty much just quite googled books about grimdark fantasy, and this came up on their first result on Amazon by any money. That's what's happened here. Whoever was writing this article, they finally locked into a graveyard of an empire. You know what? I don't care. I just don't care. I'm not reading that too long.
To me, grimdark is like the lies of Loch Lamora. Like that's a great fucking grimdark fantasy. Like it's like, you know, most grimdarks have most grimdark is, to me, it means to take the gloves off. There's gonna be rape and murder and assassinations and filthy towns,
my
filthy streets.
So for me, when it comes to grimdark, my take would be it's a fantasy world where if I ever went there, I would just kill myself. Like if you go to a fantasy world and your automatic reaction is please kill me now.
Oh, neat. Snap.
Yeah, that's my take on grimdark. Grimdark to the point of I see no.
You want to kill myself with a border to your fucking set.
I see zero reason to even fight at this point. I feel like all hope is lost. I feel like I
have given up.
Yeah, there is no hope left in this setting. People are still fighting, but for what reason is beyond me.
But I ain't gonna be fucking one of them.
Yeah, like they are at their complete and utter end, and all hope is lost. You know, that's my view on grimdark. A complete lack of hope. Would that be safe to say? Whereas high fantasy, I think a defined hope is hope.
There is always hope, yeah.
Yeah, where grimdark, I think hope needs to be stamped out completely and utterly.
Stamped out.
Yeah, that's my view on it. I suppose, yeah. Okay.
Now, I believe grimdark is an additional thing you tack on to something else. I think there are grimdark low fantasies, grimdark high. I think a grimdark high fantasy is probably one of the best things you ever do. And they're really hard to do. I would say Warhammer Fantasy is play like definitely grimdark high fantasy. That would be a good example of it. Because like me, I believe that Mortal Engines, the book series, is extremely grimdark. When you think about it. Municipal Darwinism is a huge grimdark thing where you're eating other cities. You ingest this entire town, and you either ingest or assimilate the citizens there, or like their entire hunter suburbs that basically hunt people for slavery or for meat production. Like the books themselves are extremely grimdark. Like the Lazarus Brigade, that's just fucked up in the book, bro.
Like what do you call that? It's kind of reminds me of, what do you call it? Starch. What do you call the starch from?
Corpse starch.
Corpse starch. Yeah, that's the word I'm thinking of. Right, let's keep going because everyone knows. Like if you're here, you know more than enough about grimdark. Fables.
Oh,
so we're talking
moral
like
stories.
Oh yeah, so like pretty much anything from the fucking Bible or Beowulf or like any like the Norse sagas or
any ancient tale ever. So it's gonna be a fable.
Yeah, or you know what? You could argue maybe even fairy tale.
Just the fairies.
Yeah,
there you go.
Oh wait, actually that's actually the one below. But I would count that in. I would go like Goldilocks. Does Goldilocks count as a fable?
It's a fable.
Yeah, I would put it in that category. You know, fables. What needs to happen in a fable? Does it have to have a?
Well, the thing is, who the hell is writing modern fable?
Okay, you know what? I'll give you. Okay, this. You're gonna laugh at me, guys. You're gonna fucking laugh at me, and you're gonna be like, James, that is absolutely the worst thing I've ever heard you ever say. Think about it. Think about it for a minute, and then shout at me. Harry Potter is a fable.
Oh my god.
Listen to me. Harry Potter is the retelling of the Bible for the 21st century audience.
I'm gonna slap you.
No, think of it. Think of it. What does Harry do? He dies for our sins.
Gandalf died for our sins, and Snape is the fucking one of the apostles. I swear to God.
Think about it, though.
Ted talking 5 minutes, please.
No, but think about it. Actually, no, right off. Right off. There is some really, really weird Christian elements within Harry Potter, and there is definitely a good and evil vibe, but I suppose that's...
We took Christmas, we took Easter, and by God, we'll take Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Shark Week, ours.
Now you guys can shout at me in the comments all you want about this, but think about it. I know it's a horrible take. I know it is, but think about it, okay, before you shout at me. And you might be like, well, you know what, James? You're wrong. But
somehow I know the comments are not going to be in your favor.
No, they're not. No, that's a horrible take, and
you know what, James? You're retarded. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm not playing this game.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. So is that what would your take be then, Garbu? Can you up me? Can you up me for Harry Potter being a retelling of the Bible?
If you ask me, Dune is quite the fable.
Well, Dune is actually just the Quran, so it is.
Space jihad.
Yeah, like, you know, I don't. You know what?
The great sandworm told me it's okay to marry a 13-year-old. I swear to God, he said it.
Yeah.
I heard him say it.
I don't know.
Have you seen the internet Muslims trying to defend like fucking underage kids?
No, and
well, they're developed. What the fuck's that mean? Watch these two jokers. I think Tom Dark was doing a fucking video on it, and they're like, well, okay, well, is this okay? Well, she's developed. What does that mean? Well, you know, she's developed. She's ready to go. What the fuck does that mean? You know, it's always internet Muslims every fucking time. Like,
yeah.
well, you know, she's bleeding, right? What the fuck, bro?
I mean, like, it's alright. It's alright. It's my first cousin, mate. What are you on about? Sweet. It's not like it's a stranger or anything. It's my first cousin.
It's my first cousin. The Quran says it's okay.
Yeah, it's cash money, mate. What are you on about? Don't be silly.
It's cash money. Don't be a bigot, okay?
Yeah. So, what do you mean other cultures are superior to other? What? No. Don't be silly. Anyway.
Okay. Here's a big question here that's going to upset a lot of people. I can't wait. Is the Bible low or high fantasy?
I would say it's a low fantasy. Although, no, you know what? If you go, fuck it.
No, I'm saying it's a lower high fantasy though, because
older New Testament
in there.
Okay, so Old Testament, I'm gonna go for more high fantasy. New Testament is more low fantasy. Is that
so? Was Moses a sorcerer or a wizard?
I'm gonna say he was. I'm gonna say he was a cleric.
No, because Moses did know healing miracles. He parted the ocean. He summoned the frogs. He killed the firstborn. If you ask me, he's a fucking warlock. All right, I'm just saying. Like he's like, I'm gonna summon down these spirits to kill off all the fucking firstborn. I don't know. It's kind of warlocky.
Yeah, it's kind of warlocky, man. Not gonna lie. That is kind of.
And then Moses cast fucking what's that fucking spell that all warlocks have that they always use? Fucking and then Moses cast Eldritch Blast on the fucking Pharaoh.
No, what was? You know what? Actually,
curse your Jewish magics.
So, if any of you guys, before you guys start laughing about this, because I know there's going to be jokes in the comments. But okay, so I'm going to assume you guys know Sargon of Akkad, yeah, like the actual Sargon, not Carl Benjamin
himself, yeah.
Yeah, the real Sargon. So his story actually is very, very similar to Moses, where he was like cast down the Tigris or whatever in a basket instead of the Nile. So a lot of people do believe that the Moses story is far, far older, and a lot of people do believe that even the Sargon one where he was fighting in a basket may have been again far older.
Well, you see, Moses had a time machine already. He went back in time.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. You know what? Actually, this is a really interesting one. Like the development of religion at some point in human. Well, I don't know. Development? I don't think it's development. I don't like that word being used for it. But at what point do we overcome the idea of worshipping the local, like, liver spirits? You know what I mean? Like, every religion's like, okay, we've got the local liver spirit, and then we kind of move on, and then maybe we get, like, a bit of a pantheon.
Well, have you guys ever seen the river spirits, though?
Yeah.
I'm in that river all the time, I don't see any fucking spirits.
Yeah, and, like, eventually we move on to maybe, like, they live in a mountain, or maybe they live in the sky, like a sky father of sorts, like think of, like, your Zeus or your Odin types.
Dear Sky Daddy, stop it.
Yeah, or then again, like, you know, you move on to, like, more like one of those, like, Abrahamic religions. You know what's
I love that one. What? There's one meme where it's like, "Forgive me, Daddy, I've been bad." It's confession. Stop saying it like that.
No, my favorite one is, "Please, J Dog, please, J Man." I love that meme.
Yo, J Dog, it me, your best apostle. What it do?
I'm just asking. Please, J Man. Anyway, look, let's keep going. So enough of fables. Fairy tales. I think fairy tales fit again, they would go into fables. I
mean, if you ask me, they're still. If you ask me, fairy tales are just really old high fantasy fucking stories.
Yeah,
like at this point, it's like an age monitor. This is a little fairy tale. It was like, yeah, but at the time, it was probably a fucking high fantasy story. Like there's this, think of like any fairy tale you can think of, and if you put it in a modern, like say it was written right now, like oh, that's fucking high fantasy fiction.
Well, I would argue more of them are like probably in the horror genre. Not gonna lie. You know what I mean?
Well, the Grimm brothers, a lot of horror going on.
Yeah, or any German fairy tale ever made. It's like there were two little boys and they didn't eat their dinner and they got horribly murdered.
My shoes will fit the slipper, pulls out saw blade, but they gonna.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like every fairy tale is about little children being killed. It's like Final Destination for kids. You know what I mean? So yeah, but like again, I think it's more just like they're like old stories just to like tell kids like don't be talking
to me. It's just like an age thing. This story is so old, it's now a fairy tale.
Yeah,
and I think it's one of those things where like technically isn't like Mothman a fucking fairy tale or some shit? Like it isn't like fucking like
Modern,
the Wendigo or
yeah, I could see that.
Skinwalker's a fairy tale because like they're probably not real, but you kind of look over your shoulder like, oh, it's nighttime. Check shoulders in case. Just gonna take a little look here,
Oh, okay.
But I think they're more fairy tale is more of an age thing because technically, the Wendigo, the Skinwalker, the Jersey Devil, Sasquatch, they're all really old tales that have been kept alive via oral tradition. And at this point, they're more or less a fairy tale. Like Mothman's more new than the others for sure, but it's still a fairy tale. This thing designed to, I guess, entertain, but also kind of creep you the fuck out when you think about it, or
I could see.
Don't walk on bridges.
yeah. What is it? Fucking bridges, man. Why are bridges seem to be fucking gateways?
Because it's a suspense of your belief.
Oh, okay. Look, let's keep going. Hero fantasy. That's great. Hero.
That's Marvel.
Yeah,
that's Marvel. That's any kind of cape shit.
Cape shit can actually suck. I'm so done with fucking superhero stuff.
I don't like cape shit because there's like the most like well balanced one has been like Batman for forever because at least there's some grit in there. There's some risk.
I am looking forward to the new Joker movie. That I will say.
I saw the previews. I was like, man, they're gonna crush this again. Like, dude, I can't believe the incels are winning again.
No, you know what? My favorite one ever was me and Megan. This was the last time we were away on holiday. Joker came out, so it did. Whenever we were away on holiday, and all the memes were going. And when we came back, I near pissed myself laughing whenever I went up, and I said, "Can I have 2 tickets for Joker, please?" I almost could. 2 tickets for Joker. I honestly, it was funny as shit ever at the time. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
You gotta wear like your anime shirt, your fucking fedora. 2 tickets for the Joker, please.
All right, so superhero fantasy. Unlike stories in which heroes acquire special abilities through scientific means, that's a Hulk, man. What are you on about? Such as explosion to radiation, the protagonist's power in more fantastical superhero stories are supernatural.
So
wait, right?
There's a lot of discussion about the modern cape shit mythos. A lot of people like to do it as an allegory to the human knight or some shit.
The human condition.
Knight's evil.
Well, I think X-Men was actually done very well. I think X-Men was probably the best example of something about I'm not gonna call it woke because it's not exactly woke, but it is going into nowadays would be considered woke, but it wasn't back then.
Modern cape shit's woke. Back then it was like, Superman kills off communism or something.
Yeah, I'm talking more like X-Men with the idea of the different people, where they're talking about minorities or gays or all that sort of stuff. And I think X-Men actually pulled it off really well. The idea of the other, the mutant, the freak. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So X-Men kind of showed how it played on prejudices for sure.
Yeah.
Fear.
And I think it was actually done genuinely really well. You know what I mean? The first couple of X-Men movies were actually not bad. You know what I mean? They were alright.
You can tell. You kind of tell when the woke mind virus got a hold of the fucking movies.
Yeah. Although, what was that really stupid line in the first one? What do frogs do when they're struck by lightning? Everything else, I can't remember. It was really weird.
They explode.
I can't remember. Storm just zaps your wee fella and he goes flying.
Hold on. What happens when a frog is struck by lightning? Okay. the same thing that happens to everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, that was the line.
Okay, so she's shocking Toad the X-Men.
Yeah, that was it. Honestly, I'm just burnt out in superhero stuff. I have no interest in it anymore.
Well, if you think about it, there's no risk. Like, if you ask me, the last, what was that? When the Thanos snap movie, they should have left all those fuckers dead and left it that way, because oh shit, they lost. It made the movie more real.
Yeah,
more fun
I think that one actually was pretty good. Yeah, where the end, the end. Well, they've actually lost. Yeah, it was.
Oh fuck, they didn't do it. They fucked up, and you actually feel it makes you feel emotions because man, my favorite superhero dead, and they're like, well, actually, they would go back in time, and then they Thanos snap. Oh fuck off. Yeah. Because now it all means nothing. It's just oh yeah, well, guess what? The good guys won again. Yeah. So it's all that tension meant nothing. It's just oh great. Thanks.
I mean, the problem is, I feel like the real root of all problems with modern media is everything wants to turn into a franchise, and if you get a popular character, you want to be able to sell merch of that popular character, and if you kill off that character, well, that's your cash cow gone. You can't do it.
May your hobby be found by the mainstream audience. No!
Yeah, unironically, and I think it's the worst part of all this is
money always poisons people, dude. Like look at Vizzy Pop, all these YouTube creators who got big and I can be a movie star now, and then they just immediately get poisoned by money in Hollywood. All this bullshit.
I feel, you know what? Okay, I'll say it like this: for the majority of the people that I know, a lot of people that do YouTube full time, and I think one of the biggest problems I come across with a lot of people that do YouTube is they get into it very, very young, and they've never worked a normal job, and therefore, because they've never worked a normal job, they don't really have a healthy dose of the real world
reality.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love doing what I'm doing. But again, I don't really do YouTube that much anymore. We're down to the bare minimum. I'm more just do this for fun at this point. I do a lot more stuff behind the scenes. I've got do several other companies, and
those cars look good.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've got a child now, so I need to make money. You know what I mean? And if I want to be able to, I got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? But I do feel like there's a lot of people that I've met and interacted with that just don't have a healthy dose of. Put it like this: I probably worked the definition of dead end job for. Let me think. I started doing it in 2011, and I went full time on YouTube in 2018. So what's that? 7 years, more or less, of being a kid, doing dishes. You know what I mean? I am more than aware about how lucky I have it. I don't get, you know what it is? It's whenever you hear YouTubers talk about money, it's oh my god, who cares? You're objectively working at the definition of a dream job. You get to.
It's really socially draining. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I couldn't do live streams. I would not be able. It's not something that I could do. I can only do a live stream for 3 hours, and then that's me. I'm right, guys, I'm not going to be entertaining anymore. That's it. See you guys about. But honestly, I feel the way a lot of YouTubers talk about YouTube, they've never worked for a big company before, because if you've worked for a big company before, you're going to get shafted. You're a fucking number, mate. You know what I mean? And don't try and
you're a cog in the fucking machine.
Yeah, exactly. And don't try and fucking kid yourself as if you're anything fucking special, because you're not. You know what I mean? Catch yourself on type of mindset. Anyway, enough of that. Let's keep going. Superheroes don't care. Fantasy of manner. What's this? The subgenre are exemplified by fantasy books like Gnomegast,
Gormingast. Eldritch Blast? Oh.
Yeah, Eldritch Blast combines supernatural world building with the type of socio-centric concerns one might encounter in a works like Edith Wharton or No Card. What type of second
This genre sounds lame as shit, man.
The sheer drama and pettiness may outweigh magical in the subgenre. That sounds shit. I don't even know what that is. Let's keep. You know what? I'm almost. Will I try and Google it? I'm gonna Google it.
Fantasy of manner.
Fantasy manner is a subgenre of fantasy that partakes in the nature of a comedy of manners, such as Urban. Okay, I have no idea what this is supposed to be about. These are words on a screen that mean absolutely nothing to me. Maybe I'm just a retard, but let's keep going. Crossworlds Fantasy.
Portal Fantasy, yeah.
Oh, CS. Yeah, Narnia. Honestly, I fucking love the Chronicles of Narnia series. I didn't like the movies. I thought the movies were trash, and it really kind of upset me at the time. When it was one of the first times I've seen like a movie, and like it already had happened to me with Harry Potter, because I'd already read the Harry Potter books before the movies that came out. But
You see, you say Narnia, I say fucking Stardust was a good Portal Fantasy.
which one was Stardust again? I think I remember
Stardust is a star falls out of the sky, and their witch is trying to get it, and this guy
Oh, yes.
crosses a gap. It's just like a little stone wall, and the guy crosses the wall, and boom, portal.
Yes, I remember Stardust actually. I think
That was a fucking baller show, dude.
I think I've seen that, so I did. I think I have
Like
seen
this was one of those books. This is one of those movies I watch every year. Stardust.
I'll need to go back and go for it. Honestly, you know what? I loved the prequel to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It was the last one that came out. It was called, I think it was like The Wizard's Apprentice. Or
It was called The Lion, the Witch, the Audacity, this bitch.
It fucking should have been called. Honestly, I really loved it. And where they go to the world, I can't remember the name of the world, but that's where they explain where the witch came from. And like, you know, look, either way, look, let's keep going. Sometimes
The thing is, you don't know everyone's first Portal Fantasy, right?
what would that be?
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Okay, I could see that.
That is definitely every child's first Portal Fantasy. It has to be, because it's literally it's in the pipeline of reading literature. You always read or watch Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, everyone's seen it or read it at some point, or you do it in school, or you've got a good enough gist.
It's usually in school. Yeah,
It's big enough that it's kind of like it's one of those ones where everyone knows of it.
well, the thing is, it's not a book. It's literature.
Yeah,
There's a distinction. Like me, I have books. Now, To Kill a Mockingbird, that's literature.
what would you classify the difference as? It's written well.
It's been accepted. Well, it's been accepted as a book everyone must read.
A defining
through time.
Yeah, it's a part of the human consciousness. Is that a way to put it?
I mean, I don't know how The Great Gatsby made it in fucking literature, but
yeah,
a good example.
Great Gatsby is fucking dog shit, man. It's one of the.
There's also Great Expectations is a fucking horrible piece of literature. I don't know how that made it.
You know what? Let me go for it. What was James Joyce? Ulysses and The Dubliner. Don't get me wrong, I find them really interesting. I think that, but I struggle sometimes with even like Lord of the Rings. Like I have struggled. I don't even want to attempt reading thingy. What do you call? Oh fuck! These guys are going to shout at me. Anyway, Ulysses is hard to read. It is probably one of the hardest books I've ever came across. It's
just a dry read.
It's not even. Well, the thing is, it's got stuff in it that's really fucking interesting, and I've got no other way of putting it. There is stuff. I think I'm just too much of a retard, maybe, for it, or is it like genuine? Am I just too much of a retard for Ulysses? I feel like I'm just not smart enough, or it's a book meant for extremely pretentious people that like to read it and pretend that they're smart. Does that make sense? I don't know. Honestly, you guys should check out, because there's some really interesting stuff in Ulysses. It's by James Joyce again. There's something by James Joyce where I do love his writing style. I do think he's really interesting, but I absolutely despise him as a human being. He is the definition of liberal, early... Like, he puts Mark Twain to shame when it comes to just being hyper-liberal, unironic. I'm going to have to edit this, but he's absolutely giga. I'm going to have to edit that out because you can't say that on YouTube, but he is just definition of the word. And I cannot, like, everything about him, he's just such a he's no Hemingway. Hemingway would kick the fuck out of you.
Kind of reminds you of pundit, doesn't it?
No, but like, let me get up Hemingway. Hemingway would kick the fuck out of you. You know what I mean? Like that's who I want to be reading books from.
Well, did he fucking hunt sharks or some shit?
Yeah, like Hemingway, like like this is the type of man I want. Whereas, you know, the weird thing is that apparently Hemingway and James Joyce used to hang out quite a bit. So they were actually quite good friends. But Joyce is just he's just a wee weaselly little fucking faggot. You know what I mean? He's a wee worm of a human being, and I cannot explain it anymore, but I do think his books are worth attempting to read. Even though I feel like they are incredibly difficult. But I feel like, again, Ulysses, or it's kind of like the Irish version of Huckleberry Finn. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that Americana sort of. I feel like you need to be American to understand Mark Twain. Does that make sense?
You gotta be a burger to understand a burger.
Yeah, no, but does that make sense? He's creating like a mythology of the modern American psyche, and I feel like James Joyce did that with Ulysses and the Dubliner, and I can't really explain it any other way. And I know I'm making a hack, and I'm going to sound like an absolute retard, but yeah, that's my views on classic literature. Then, how does that sound? Where do you want to go?
Sure.
yeah. Do you want to listen to fucking retard half-baked Lance by James and Garbu for what are we on? An hour and a half?
Yeah. Well, apparently, a lot of guys like our rambling videos.
I enjoy it. I liked it. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Based in Ramblefield?
Yeah, so
Steampunk.
Wait,
yeah,
no,
so
wait, hold on.
Crossworld
Crossworld, does Veil Riders count?
Yeah, it does, yes.
Yeah, I would put that in there.
Technically, Veil Riders and Emily Bronze does count for that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm a huge Portal fan. Portal Fantasy. This is how I am. I'm a huge Portal fag, if you will.
I suppose I would be as well. I do, again, historic materials, which you could definitely argue is Crossworld's fantasy. Demonata that I'm leading at the minute fits that mold as well. Very much so. Let's just keep going though. Steampunk fantasy, I don't even want to talk about this.
Oh, God. Where do you even start?
Like,
where do you even start?
The fan base. Can we start with the fan base? Because
that's a good place to start.
you know what? Instead of talking about so instead of talking about steampunk, I am just going to post. Hold up.
Steampunk LARP battle.
Yeah, I'm just gonna post like this image, and I'm gonna leave it on screen for 10 seconds, and I want you to look at this image.
Look at these people.
Yeah, just stop and look, and that is everything that I have to say about steampunk. And
look at these specimens.
They are fucking specimens and a half. What is it like? Dieselpunk on the other, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of a fag when it comes to that sort of stuff, but Dieselpunk, pretty cool.
Well, the thing is, I've seen Dieselpunk fans, they're not nearly as bad as fucking Steampunk fans do. Like, that's not even close.
Yeah, I just don't care about steampunk, and I do believe it's the people that enjoy it have ruined it for me. Let's keep going. Arthurian fantasy. What makes this any different than... Alright.
Arthurian fantasy is just basically King Arthur, and that's really the setting.
These historical fantasy stories exist in a magical world of King Arthur, and I mean, that's the only like count. That's no, I'm
like because basically, well, I think it's not really a genre. It's more just basically Arthurian fantasy.
I would call that is Victorian era fan fiction of the Dark Ages.
No, because these are nearly always set in the Arthurian myth.
Which is
one particular myth.
And again, Arthurian myth is just, I would argue, is a creation of the Victorian elites trying to look back on the birth of the Anglo-Saxons, or how they came out of the Dark Ages.
The birth of a nation.
Yeah, unironically, yeah. Arthurian legend, I believe, is... Yeah, maybe not that. Like, maybe not connected to that, but like, yeah, you can. Well, the birth of how the English came to be. Does that make sense? I like it. I think it's kind of interesting. Best Arthurian fantasy is probably going to be Monty Python, though. Not going to lie. And yeah,
fuck off.
Yeah, it is. It counts. It's the same thing. What are you all about?
It counts. All right, it definitely counts.
It's got. What are you all about? It's got King Arthur in it. So like, how's it not?
It's such a cool. It's got King Arthur.
Yeah, I mean, it's called.
He's right there. Look,
his name's right there. Man, what are you talking about? Let's just keep going because I don't think I've got anything. You know what? I do have a book actually. I do have a book for a module. It is a wisdom skill book. I can't remember the name. I think it was like Yellow something it was called. I got sent it from Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and it's like Harry Potter but set in like Arthurian myth almost, and it's actually really well put together. I actually really like it. The only problem that I've got with it is I would never run a Wizarding Skull tabletop campaign ever. It's just not something that I would be particularly interested in running, but I know it is kind of popular because, like, you know, fucking Strixhaven sold, and I don't know how that did. So, like, you know, if you've ever thought of, oh, I would love to do something like that, like a Wizarding Skull, check this book out instead. Let's just keep going. Sci-fi fantasy, what does that even mean? Star Wars, yeah, I can see that. Star Wars, yeah, Star Wars is fantasy. These stories can be set in any you know what I'm sick of again is I would argue all sci-fi is fantasy to a certain extent. Like, see all this,
it's definitely fiction,
because I see people complain saying like, no, well, Star Wars is fantasy, whereas like Star Trek, that's like science fiction. It's like, no, they just
they both have spaceships. Fuck off, dude.
No, but Starship, like, Star Trek explains like the science behind it. It's like, no, they don't. They just threw names at it, and like, you kind of.
I like when shows just create nonsense science terms. It's like, that's not explaining.
Yeah,
anything.
No, but like,
oh yeah, it's midichlorians.
But you don't get it, like, because like in the new Fallout, or like the Garden of Eden kits, they've got like cold fusion, and cold fusion is like something that we think could happen in the real world. So like, it's totally like it's science fiction, man. So like, because
actually sweaty.
That's exactly what it feels like. So like, let's lead it. Let's see how fucked up this is. These stories can be set in any variety of time periods, which means they can be contemporary fantasy, modern fantasy, or futuristic fantasy, or even historical fantasy, but they establish a new world where scientific advancements have changed the rules of engagement while still incorporating magical elements. The Star Wars series and its various works of Isaac Asimov have helped set the bar. I don't care.
So hold on. I think I understand where their broken minds are at with this. They're implying that if there are magical elements like force powers or like powers or abilities that kind of break normal physics, is then sci-fi fantasy. So like, yeah, it's not a wizard, it's a Jedi. It's not a sorcerer, it's a Sith. Or like, it's basically, there's only one source of magical powers in Star Wars. It's basically the Force. There's like the Night Sisters, the
mini-chlorians. Let me measure your blood.
Well, it's like, you know, because the Night Sisters can like raise the dead and shit and make homunculi. It's I can see where they go, oh, it's sci-fi fantasy, because it's not just because Star Trek is purely sci-fi, because there's no magic as far as just some weird shit in fucking Star Trek, like, oh yeah, we're gonna jump through portals. Yeah. It was not like a portal fantasy, but like, or it's actually a wormhole. But it's like, I can see why they would call it sci-fi fantasy, because, well, there are space wizards, and if you have space wizards wielding light swords and firing pistols, is it sci-fi or is it fantasy? Well, it would be both, because they're doing it all in a spaceship.
So my argument for what constitutes sci-fi and what constitutes fantasy is they ask different questions. So I feel like for true science fiction, I think they actually did hit this one. Actually is pretty much right. I like the idea of, if we had X technology, how would that affect the human psyche? Like, what would our world look like if replicators actually did exist? Do you know what I mean? Like, what would...
Africa would still starve.
Somehow. Yeah, the warlords would steal it and just use it to clean fucking...
Warlord would steal it?
Yeah, pretty much. Every time.
I must feed my children soldiers.
Yeah, whereas I feel like fantasy, it's more talking about the human condition, and I don't have any other good way to explain that. I know that's a really terrible...
What a great topic, the human condition.
Yeah, well, I think that's what constitutes fantasy. Science fiction is, to me anyway, but it's all minutiae. It's just different words for different things. Generally speaking, sci-fi set in the future. Generally speaking, sci-fi set in the past. That's all, like, you know, that's the normie definition anyway. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this last one, and then we'll finish up. Wuxian? What the fuck is this? Oh, the Chinese
fantasy.
I mean, what...
Wuxia is some really boring uber like pro China bullshit. all their books. So I tried wuxia fantasy. And it's always like China is so mysterious. This is some Changxi bullshit.
I will never understand Confucianism ever.
They usually focus on gods too.
I just, and you know what? I've tried so many times with Chinese history. Don't get me wrong, I like the Three Kingdoms era. That's about it. And I like some parts. Like I there's elements that I do like in Chinese history, but for the most part, it's pretty fucking boring. And like all Chinese history is eunuchs and daimyos, and that's all there is. Oh, and incompetent emperors, time and time again, and
eating civilians for victory.
Yeah. And also, we had this battle and 50 billion people died, and the numbers are always so outrageous.
Glorious success.
Yeah, like there's something about it. But what gets me is I think Japanese history is really interesting, but I think that's because their culture is so different, and I think because they do have that warrior culture, I see they're much more Western than Chinese. Chinese are the definition of Eastern culture to me anyway, and the Japanese, they don't get me wrong, they are Eastern, but they have
You heard them, folks. Japan's now Western, now honorary whites.
No, but Japan does have, at least with samurai, you do have knights. You know what I mean? You do have elements that you can relate to.
Peasantry and knights.
Yeah, you get the feudal.
Castles.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can look at and be, oh, yeah, actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can see that, you know? And even their, their 1500s, all those sort of, eras in Japanese history, they look an awful lot like England in, the late Dark Ages. You know, there's so much you can see. I sometimes do think that Japan is the British Isles of the East. You know what I mean? And I see China as the continent. I see it as
it's part of the continent. Yeah,
it is the continent. I would see that as and Japan and the British Isles play very, very similar roles to each other, but it might just be the continent and the island nation right beside. But you see a lot of similarities between them, and I just find Japanese history to be far more interesting by such a big margin. It's not even funny compared to Chinese.
So to give you an example of wuxia fiction, I was reading a passage, and this book had been a pit. So I was stuck on a bus. I was like, I'll just read this. Fucking, it's only $1 at the little store. I was like, fuck, I'll grab it, because it had Wukong on the cover. I was like, fuck it can't be that bad, can it?
Yeah.
And I remember this passage was like I got it, I tapped into his chi, and then so and so exploded. He goes, I have your chi now. I made the guy just explode like a big wet splat. I was like, what?
You know what? I've got it. The best type of wuxian fantasy ever, Jackie Chan Adventures.
True. That
shit was fucking outstanding. That was honestly...
Jackie Pilled.
Jackie Chan Adventures was the best show, I think, at the time.
Hiya, Jackie.
I thought it was, honestly, it was so fucking good. It was actually top tier, so it was. I see them talismans. Oh my god, I wanted them so badly.
Actually, that would make it wuxia fantasy. You're correct. They had
Jackie Chan.
The Chinese aspects to it.
Was it the talismans? Yeah, what could all the talismans do? Mate, you can buy them on. Oh, I always wanted these. You could get them. They were in a magazine, so they were.
You take talisman, go defeat demon.
Yeah, mate, they were so fucking good. I always wanted them, so I did. I can't remember what did they do again.
Young James, I want a talisman.
Give me the talismans. Hold up, what do they do? I want to read this here because it's been that long.
They all do different shit.
Yeah, the demon. Okay, talisman powers. Luster, levitation, ox strength, snake invisibility, rabbit speed, sheep astral projection, dream possession, dragon combustion. Let's see, that animation, horse healing and regeneration, monkey shape shifting, dog immortality and rejuvenation, pig thermal. The pig was fucking cool, and tiger balance. Honestly, they were so cool though. I need to get Ozzy on Jackie Chan Adventures. That's what's gonna happen. So where do you want to go with this? What would be your favorite out of all fantasy?
Man,
Okay,
everyone loves a good high fantasy.
Okay? No, you know what? What lends itself best for tabletop RPGs? How does that sound?
I mean, they all do. I mean, the thing is, I love urban fantasy the most. I will always love urban fantasy. It tickles my funny bone the right way. But literally, high, low, urban, and
skill issue, man. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they all lend themselves to a good TTRPG, and if you can't figure that out, then you just suck.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, nearly all of these genres, except for the ones that are dumb, are basically slam dunks if you just have an inch of fucking creativity.
Yeah, and you know what? You know the thing is, what gets me is like you don't really need to be creative. Like you just take elements that you know work. One of the things I'm always sick about seeing people complain about the party meets in a tavern. Okay,
the party meets in a tavern and no one's in the bus for you, and you feel compelled to go on an adventure with each other.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Is it overdone? Yes, but does it work? Yeah. I'm not going to get upset about it. I don't think it's the end of the world. Tropes exist for a reason, and they just work. There's no need to overcomplicate things a lot of the time, or you're starting off as prisoners or whatever. The only one I will say is dystopian fantasy, dark fantasy, and grim dark fantasy. I'm just gonna go all into one. Fable and Fairy Tale go all into one.
I mean, honestly, you really can, because to be fair, they're not really all that different.
Same with paranormal. I'm putting paranormal and horror. That all goes in dark fantasy, and I'm just sealing the lid on that.
Now, the delineation is, well, they're not actually the same, and people want to fucking cope them all.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just Google this here. All genres of heavy metal. Let's see the 50 billion different types. Yeah, that isn't even a fraction of them. You know what I mean? It's over 15 different types.
It's actually grave metal. It's actually doom metal. How about you fucking go doom a woman?
Yeah, no, this is thrash metal. No, this is death punk fucking skull fuck metal. You know what I mean?
So, what's that one metal where it's the guitars have 3 strings? It's kind of like Indian sounding. Fucking.
I'm not sure.
Fuck. Anyway, but there's tons of metal, and some of them are different. A lot of them are not. Thrash could probably fucking encompass 16 metal genres.
Yeah, fucking kid. You know what? It's one of those ones. I feel like it's just what defines genres is just autism. Straight up.
Weaponized autism.
No, that's all it is. Different genres. I feel like there's so much overlap. I feel like everything it should be done by Venn diagrams. You know what I mean? Let me see. Is there?
It really should. Yeah.
Let me see. Venn diagram.
Did you not know that Venn diagrams are racist?
Actually, tell me why.
I gotta find the article. Venn diagrams are racist. I saw it on Twitter, so I gotta find it.
Oh, here we go. Historical fantasy, speculative, science fiction, horror. Okay, that's actually not too bad. That's one of the better ones I've seen.
I gotta find this fucking Twitter post. I should have saved it. Fuck. But yeah, so I think they should all be Venn diagrams, or at least a spider web.
Yeah,
a lot of things are interconnected. It's only slightly different.
Yeah, it's not different enough for me to actually care. You know what I mean? But yeah, I kind of like this. I want to do more world building stuff. I don't really like doing videos where we just gurn. You know what I want to do? I really want to do more world building stuff. I want to talk more about RPG books that are worth picking up. I think you know what? Whenever I get back from holiday, do you want to do Lamentations? I love Lamentation stuff, and it's all dark fantasy.
I don't see why not. Lamentations is at least they're funny.
Yeah, I like them. I'll send you a load of the books. Well, I've got a lot of them in print, so I do. And I know that they're going to be putting out a couple new books very soon, so something to check out. I think we'll skip over Fecal Lands though, because I think we've spoken about it more than enough. That
I will fly to your fucking country, I swear to God.
Well, we can skip over that one, but one that I do want to talk about is Death Thrust Doom. I think that's probably my favorite.
Death Thrust Doom?
Death Thrust Doom, it's called.
Oh, Frost. I was like, what the fuck? Death Thrust. It's like a great band name. Holy shit.
Well, it is, honestly.
Death Thrust.
It's really good. It's probably since I first bought the adventure, I think it would have been 2022 maybe, and since then I've gone this adventure 4 times, and I have never ran the same adventure twice ever before, and I just really enjoy this adventure because I think it's jam-packed. You know, it literally is jam-packed with stuff, and you can play it in so many different ways. I just really enjoy it. It's playing one of my... for me, it's gonna be my default adventure. Like, see if people want a game and I don't have anything prepped, that's what I'm gonna run. You know what I mean? That's my go-to for the old trusty. You know what I mean? The old trusty Death Thrust in. Anyway, I think that's where we're gonna finish up. Is there anything you want to talk about, Garbu? Is there anything you want to shill? Anything we're talking about?
Shill. Not really.
Well, we should be having the deck of many triggers in very soon, and this video might actually, I might have to actually put a edit in, like at the start of this video, to let you guys know that it's actually, because it might be live by the time this video does come up, because I think this video is going to be a couple of weeks away from whenever we start, and I'm aiming to get the crowdfunding going as soon as I possibly can whenever we get back from holiday, you know, so we'll just find out, sort of thing. But I'm looking forward to it. They actually, you know what, I'll get it up for you, Garb. Let me get it up Facebook.
Facebook?
Yeah, because that's where that's where I talk to Thingy, so it is.
Oh, the Chinese lady?
Yeah, a Chinese woman that's gone that's making them for us.
In China, we have deadlines.
In China, we have deadlines. She says, "Hi James, sorry for the delay. The box is not ready, so we'll be sending out samples on Wednesday. Do you need to change your glass?" Yeah, because I said to her,
message in England, we have deadlines. The box ready.
Yeah, no. Well, the thing is, it's because like I said to her, I'm going away soon. I'm going away on the I can't say exactly, but I'm going away at the start of June. So I am. And they said it would take them 5 days, so yeah, if they send it, hopefully we'll be getting it early next week, and then I'm going to be away that's about the same time the week after, so hopefully I'll be able to go and get the photos taken at least, and then I should have everything like lying in wait, so the second we're back we can just get it up and get it, you know what I mean. I'm really looking forward to actually get my hands on the deck, because I think they look really good. Like honestly, like have you seen the photos, Garbo?
Yeah, I have seen. Yeah, they actually look quite spectacular. Actually, they look.
Look at that shit. Looks good.
Like they look like an actual product.
Yeah, they look professional as fuck. So I'm really happy with that. I didn't even know that they were going to be doing that insert bit for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it looks even better in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they are only doing 10 cards. These are the 10 promo cards, because we don't want to show what's actually in the full deck. Partly because we want to keep it a mystery, because I think you guys will have way more fun with it. Because I would rather it be a surprise for the DM and the players, and you guys I think you guys will have a good.
To your horror, yeah.
To your horror and amusement, I think you'll have way more fun just using it and throwing it in the game and seeing what happens, because it's not as broken as a deck of many triggers, which says a lot. Like, a lot of the magical effects are not going to completely and utterly destroy your setting, which is nice, I suppose. You know, because I suppose that's what the deck of many triggers is mostly known for. But here, look at that shit. Like, look, I love the linen that they've done with it, because it makes like the backs of the cards look actually like really old. You know what I mean? Like the print on it gives it that like oldie sort of aesthetic, you know. Anyway, I don't know what to say. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Is there anything else? No, I don't think so.
Nope, I'm good.
No, and we're coming up on 2 hours on this. I don't know how much I'm going to edit out of this though. By the way,
all the faggots probably.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys have learned a lot from this video. That yes, it was J.K. Rowling that reinvented
J.K. Rowling saved fiction.
saved sword and sorcery. Fuck, I don't know. That's probably that's wild.
That's fucking gall.
That is actual audacity on the highest level that I've ever heard of. Anyway,
the lion bewitched the audacity of this bitch.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let us know what you think, as always, down below, and we'll see you next time. Also, Harry Potter is in fact a Christian mythology.
Be sure to like and subscribe.